Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Josh, the Movie Apprentice, and today I'm doing a very late review of Imaginary, directed by Jeff Wadlow, and starring DeWanda Rise, Pyper Braun, Taegan Burns, and Betty Buckley. This follows a stepfamily that move back into the stepmother's childhood home in order to get a fresh start, where the young girl of the family discovers a teddy bear in the basement and makes an imaginary friend through this teddy bear. But the teddy bear has some sinister motivations. Before I get into my review, if you like seeing our channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time. Without further ado, let's look into this movie. Imaginary, this film seems to have been very divisive and a lot of people have not liked this. Like, it has been a very rough start to the year for horror. But for me, I actually really enjoyed Imaginary. There are definitely things that go heavily against the film, but for what it's worth, in terms of the low quality of horror that we've had so far this year, I'll say this is arguably the first win. For starters, I really enjoy the dynamic of this stepmom trying to fit in with the family. We obviously have the older teenage daughter that's being a bit bratty towards her, the understanding husband, and the young girl. The tropes are there and they're not very original, but the way it is acted out between the actors on screen works very well. And it's nice seeing a horror movie that has a possessed doll that actually moves on camera. It really adds to the atmosphere and creepiness of things. And it's interesting hearing the sinister voice coming out of the imaginary toy as well. It's a slow build and there are some generic characters along the way, but the atmosphere the film creates really makes up for a lot of the shortcomings. Whilst we do have these stereotypical characters, when we see the Chauncey and little girl interactions, they really build up the anticipation of how this film is going to slowly play out. This film, to be honest, for me, is worth watching purely for the never after sequence. So the plot is basically the teddy bear is an imaginary sort of fae spirit that wants to take a kid into the never after, where the bounds of imagination are absolutely limitless, and she has to complete certain tasks in order to achieve this transfer. Whilst I thought this was going to be a film that would get close to it, but not actually cross that boundary, give credit to the film, it made the jump into a very Alice in Madness kind of world. The doorway leads into a great 20-minute sequence that is a lot of fun to watch, feels very fresh and very unique, and is a twist on some old folklore tales as well. However, I will say I could have done without a character in this that goes completely crazy out of the blue. They show up, they are there as the exposition dumper, and then they go crazy and then they are promptly killed off screen. That is their whole role in the movie, and I could have done without it. It was a big detractor, nearly completely turned me off the film. Like I say, there are some heavy negatives that will go against this movie, but thankfully the way it embraced imagination and committed to a more unique final act than most horror movies when it comes to possession have done in recent years, that I have to give massive props to. There was also a reveal around the halfway point that took me by surprise. Did I think it was game changing? No, but again, it kept the film interesting. It kept me interested in what was going to happen next and trying to see things from a different light. And I love it when the film will point something out and I won't realize that I hadn't noticed it, but when I think back on the movie, I feel stupid for not noticing it. That's the kind of movie I enjoy, so that's going to take me for a ride, so I have to use a bit of thinking power. And when it comes to the actual creature itself, I really liked the design. It is very CG heavy, but for what it's worth, I liked the way they use the design, how limited they use it, how they slowly build up to the reveal of the design. I thought that element of the movie was really well done. But flipping back over to the negatives, I feel like horror movies these days they're too scared of having a bad ending. There is a point in this movie where it could have ended in a similar way to the original Descent movie, the European version, not the American one that ends when she drives off, but rather the end that we get that's a bit darker This film had the opportunity to do that kind of ending, and I would not have been disappointed if it ended there and then. But it feels like horror movies these days are too scared of having this bad ending and need to send the audience away happy. And that always bugs me a little bit because, yeah, it's a horror movie. We want to go in, we want to be scared, we want to be creeped out. And sometimes we need to see a bad ending. I can't remember the last time I saw a horror movie that genuinely had a villain win, or at least have the main character not come out okay on the other side. That for me is the big detractor of Imaginary for me. The final 5 or 10 minutes could have been completely left out, and I would not have been bothered by it at all. Before I get into my grade, like we're seeing our channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews like this coming all the time. Without further ado, let's grade this. So like I say, I've reviewed this one very late. I've seen a lot of mixed reactions from this film. A lot of people call this outright terrible, but I felt there's way too much uniqueness to this movie that prevents it from being outright bad, in my opinion. Whereas Baghead had a unique concept and something that felt fresh, it failed on execution. This film is worth watching for the execution of a particular sequence in that final act. That alone is worth the price of admission. A couple of the cheap scare scenes are really well executed. There is one bit where the teddy bear is messing with the cute boy from next door that I really enjoyed watching. And Pyper Braun, as a kid actor, there's always that chalk and cheese when it comes to kid actors that thankfully seems like these days kid actors are a lot better than they used to be. And Pyper Braun continues that trend. She sells it very well, while some of the dialogue is to the point and leaves very little room for interpretation. That's kind of how kids are. They are very blunt and to the point. And I really enjoyed this scene where she's very having to act off herself and having to really emote and show a gentle progression from a calmness to a sense of being purely distraught. I really enjoyed that part of the movie. There is a lot of good stuff in this movie, but unfortunately the stuff that works against it works really heavily against it. The lack of a bad ending and a certain character that could have really done without, plus several tropey characters, really drag it down. There's enough uniqueness and freshness that made me come out of Imaginary not regretting the fact that I saw it. I'm going to have to say that Imaginary for me is a tea that needs more sugar. So Imaginary, have you seen it? If you have, let me know you thought down in the comments below. Again, you like seeing our channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time. But until next time, everybody, my name is Josh, I have been your Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you all in the next video.